Just giving you guys a quick update on injuries to start. Austin Schlotman did indeed suffer a fibula fracture in his left ankle. We'll hopefully get some positive news coming out of the MRI, but that looks like a pretty significant injury for him, which is very unfortunate, just how he stepped in and been very reliable for us and really helped us as an offense kind of withstand losing Garrett Bradbury for a few weeks here. And then Brian O'Neill sustained a calf muscle injury. We ruled him out, and he'll have an MRI. We'll just see how he's, it'll all be determined by that MRI, the severity and the timetable. I'll keep you guys posted on that. Had a couple other things come up, but for the most part, that was about it. Very disappointed in our performance today, both as players and coaches. I thought some of the plays that were there to be made we didn't make, and clearly we could do a better job coaching. It starts with me, giving our guys a chance to try to sustain momentum. You can't come up here and turn the ball over, directly lead to points, give up a 100-yard kick return, and even when we did get some defensive stops and or that block punt early on, we weren't able to do enough with those opportunities without self-sabotaging some of those drives offensively. So got to find a way to improve, get back to what we've been when we've been able to win some football games by not turning the ball over, play clean, and give ourselves a chance to win. We did not do that today, and got to find a way to figure out why what I thought was a week of preparation, why that didn't translate to our performance today as we continue to move forward here. Got another tough divisional road trip ahead, and we'll figure out where we're at from an injury standpoint and all the things that we can do to help our team and our roster be prepared for the opportunities we get come playoff time. But it's back to work and with an urgency of understanding we've got some things to correct and fix. Being honest with ourselves starts with me. I got to be better for our team, and I got a lot of confidence in this football team, and we just go back to work and move from there.
How much, Kevin, does that get you kind of behind the eight ball early when you lose two starting offensive linemen in the first quarter?
Yeah, it's hard, and really when you're talking about our backup center, when you lose him, and so you're really onto your third center and Chris Reed, and it was a good environment, loud. We had some snap count issues that created a 3rd and 6 to a 3rd and 11 or whatever it was. It just we didn't execute smoothly early on. He settled in. Kirk did a great job kind of trying to help settle everybody down in that huddle and along the sideline with the communication. But it's a factor. I mean, especially when you start talking about being on your backup center to start and then having your third guy go in there. And Brian O'Neill, I thought was a big loss for us, but Ole stepped in there and, as the expectation is, did some solid things, and it sounds like we're going to need him, how to be determined how long.
What's your concern level now with your offensive line?
Yeah, it's anytime you lose significant starters and members. Hopefully we'll get Garrett back at some point, but we'll put together the best group we can, give those guys some time this week and practice and solidify, that group and then all the different contingency plans if we were to lose guys from that group we put out there. But we just got to, see what that injury report looks like for the long term, but also how we can have the best value and usage of some of the guys that have experience. We've had them here for a reason, guys like Chris Reed and Ole, and like I said, we should get Garrett back at some point. So there's a lot of ball still left to play, and we'll get the best group out there we can.
Kevin, it seemed like a lot of issues early for guys with traction on the field.
Yeah.
How involved, I guess, were you guys in telling them, hey, wear 7-stud cleats, or giving them freedom to kind of make their own choices there?
Yeah, we made a point throughout the week, first team meeting, and then throughout the week, we were able to practice on our own field outside a couple days. And guys, you're never going to force people to wear those things, but it was strongly encouraged, and there's been a lot of our roster has played up here before. So when I did see some guys on the ground and having some issues, they then put those cleats on, and hopefully it's a learning lesson for all of us that we don't need to go through some of that early to rectify that problem.
Kevin, do you know why some of your losses have been lopsided? I mean, you guys were great in close games,
the lopsided games have gone against you. Any idea why?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to the fact that when we've lost lopsided games, is we've directly contributed to those. You know, the score can get out of hand in a hurry when you turn it over for touchdowns the other way. You give up a 100-yard kick return. You don't score when you block a punt and end up on their 1-yard line and come away with 3. You know, this game is a momentum-based game, and when you turn the football over and you do not sustain drives offensively, eventually it's just too much for your team to overcome, and that's where we've got to find ways, you know, in all phases of our team to do whatever we can to limit the momentum being that avalanche that has tended to happen when a couple of these games have gotten away from us. And that's just in the end where I need to continue to do the best possible job I can do with our coaching staff, through the leadership of our players, to rectify those issues and try to make sure we're doing everything we can to avoid results like this.
Did you feel a difference in that front between today and, you know, for example, the Colts game where you're kind of in a similar situation, you're able to come back out of that one?
Yeah, I just thought, where we were at in this game, even we only had one possession there in the third quarter. You're hoping to get a stop and then, drive the football, and we did, and then unfortunately turned it over on that drive. And then before you know it, it's the fourth quarter, and this team can run the football. They control the clock. Aaron did a very good job managing the game to really limit any chance to have enough possessions once it kind of got out of hand. So I just think, the injuries up front, I'm never going to make excuses. Guys were ready to go, and we just didn't execute enough, all across the board offensively, and then, didn't do enough to sustain maybe some of that early momentum defensively. And then the kick return was a big play, obviously.
You attribute Cousins' 3 interceptions
to they all kind of there was a slip there on one of them. Ball got tipped. JJ slipped, kind of trying to work against 2 deep. It was a lot of 2 deep coverage for him today. Regardless, 2 deep man under, 2 deep zone. They weren't going to allow him to have a lot of one-on-one coverage. It did not exist much today. No matter what may or may not get said about this. But in the end, each interception has its own story. I thought the 4th down one, there was maybe an opportunity to Justin. Kirk felt like he had TJ right out of the break, and I'm never going to second-guess him on that. And then the last one, he was just trying to be aggressive against kind of quarters on the right and a half-field look on the left, and that backside safety got him coming from the other side. So he's trying to be aggressive and trying to make that play. Kirk's done a phenomenal job all year long trying to play within the role of the offense and lead us. And he's always going to battle and compete. It's one of my favorite things about him. And regardless of the outcome, we'll coach him up. He's the hardest critic on himself, and he knows that he's got to continue to play at a high level for us to have the success we want to have as an offense.
Do you feel like there are things you could have done to get Justin more involved, or do other people need to step up if teams are going to play him that way?
Yeah, a couple times where maybe there were some opportunities for him. The ball, it just either was pressure or, like I said, the ball to TJ got tipped and intercepted on the other side of the field. Then when we're trying to find ways to get him the ball, we were having some footing issues. So I will always look at it from a standpoint of, did we have enough ops? And, on the ops we tried to get for him, what were the results and why did the outcome, not become what we wanted to be for him? As it has been many times, this is not the first time we saw coverage like this. This is not the first time he's essentially been doubled on, most of the football game, if not all the game. And he's been productive. And there were some plays out there, and we just didn't make them. And probably a lot of things we'll be able to look at the tape and improve on to make sure when we get this, as we have multiple times this year, we'll have the ability to make some plays and come to life as an offense.
Kevin, what happened on the 105-yard touchdown there that opened up the gap for Nixon up the middle?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Just looking up at the Jumbotron, it looked like we might have got out of one of our interior run lanes. Don't exactly know who it was. We'll take a look at it, but it did open up right in the middle of the field, and that's exactly what you don't want when you start talking covering kicks, and they were able to get a big play right there.
How much tougher is the road to hoe? Maybe you drop to the number 3 seed out of the 2 with 49ers win.
Yeah, regardless, Chris, at this point, knowing we're going to get the opportunity to host a playoff game, we've earned that right, but now we've got to make sure we look at ourselves and find every opportunity to improve as a football team and overcome some injuries and look at every asset of our football team as a viable, contributing member, because we're going to need everyone. I've been telling our team all year we're going to need absolutely everybody. We know we have one home playoff game, and we really need to focus on just having a good week of prep for the Chicago Bears this week. Regardless of how we try to go about that game and who we play and who we don't play, it's about the Minnesota Vikings having a good week of prep, leading into a division game on the road, and then trying to sustain that week in and week out with a 1-0 mentality, like I said, until they don't let us play any more games.
Kevin, how do you let the frustrations of this just kind of not go fester? With the guys out there in the locker room, they seem great. They're asking questions of each other, like, when you did this, you did this. It's kind of a cool discussion, not anger. So that's a good sign going forward on that?
Yeah, I think, I think there's going to be anger. There's going to be different emotions about, a game like this, which, like I said, we put a lot into this prep. We had a good week of practice. Those guys feel like, looking inward will help because, we've got to find ways to take that preparation and have it equal a performance that can give us a chance to win the game. I did not think we had that today. But I do know our guys are a confident team. They're confident because of the opportunities we've had leading into today and how we've overcome adversity throughout the season, both the result in game and then some of those results we were talking about where it got away from us a little bit. But ultimately, the one thing I do know is we've got great leadership, and it's on us to continue to come together as players and coaches and put together the best plans we can, and then just go execute and be able to handle adversity a little bit better by not having so many self-inflicted wounds.
It's probably secondary, but why was there so much footing issues or slippery? I don't know if it was actually slippery on that grass during the
It tends to, my experience level here. We've got some players that used to play here. There was a lot of dialogue and communication about it potentially being slick, and we tried to educate the players as much as possible. And in the end, there was just some issues with it, and then we had to go ahead and make some cleat changes and things like that. It's part of when you go on the road. You don't get your home environment that we've come to be very, very happy when we get games at US Bank Stadium. We've had a lot of success there this year, but you've got to be able to go on the road and deal with whatever the circumstances are, field, footing, weather, crowd noise, those, all of those things. We've got to be prepared now moving forward to handle whatever it looks like on the road.